Bonjour tout le monde. Hello everyone. Welcome back to another episode of Learn French with Madame. Today we are going to round out our Chapitre 3, our chapter 3, with our second set of vocab, our second part of the vocab. So we're talking about some stores that are in France, like a creamery or a cheese shop or a butcher shop, a fish market, and talking about items that you might find in those stores. And now we're going to talk about how you might ask for certain things or how you might say where something is located in that store. So if you want to follow along with our Pear Deck, the QR code is up there for you. I'll also put a link to it in the video description. But that way you can follow along with the slides. You can participate by drawing, answering questions. If you don't want to do that, though, you can always just follow along on paper or follow along in your head. OK, donc on y va. On va commencer avec la deuxième partie du vocabulaire 2. So let's get started with our second part of vocab 2. OK, donc un petit peu de révision en premier. So a little bit of review at first. Voilà les photos. There are the pictures. Identifier la fromagerie. So identifier la fromagerie. So if you're following along, this is where you would circle la fromagerie. I'll give you a couple seconds to circle what la fromagerie is. Okay, we should have circled that picture underneath of a piece of. So that picture underneath of a piece of and above the yogurt. That is our cheese shop. Okay, continue. So this was our picture that we should have circled. On continue avec l'épicière. L'épicière. So voilà, ces trois photos. Here are three pictures. Identifiez l'épicière. So circle which one is l'épicière. All right, we should have circled our one in the top left. So our one that's left on the top. That is our spicer, I guess if you want to call that in French, our spicer. Okay? So, on continue avec la prochaine. Here is our next one. Voilà les photos. So there are all of your pictures. Identifier. I'm going to say a word for you and I want you to identify and circle the word that I say. All right? Circle the word that I say. Here we go. Une douzaine de. Une douzaine de. All right, we should have circled a dozen, that picture of a dozen or that like dozen tray up in the top right. That is the picture that we should have circled. Okay? Donc, les nouveaux mots de vocabulaire pour aujourd'hui. So, we've got our new words for today. Some of them are also a bit of review from French 1 and French 2. Our first quote-unquote new word is l'eau. L'eau, and that is water. L'eau, water. Actually, water is feminine, so if you took away that apostrophe, it would be la eau. But remember, in French, we don't have two vowels next to each other, so it becomes l'eau instead of la eau. Otherwise, it sounds a little bit funky. So low is our word for water. Think like you're low to the ground. Okay. Prochain mot de vocabulaire, un pot de. Un pot de. Un pot de. I'll say that word, then you guys say that word. Un pot de. Excellent. Un pot de is our word for a pot of. A pot of. Like you could say, un pot de, I don't know, fromage, if you need a pot of cheese. Un pot de, a pot of. Facile, because it kind of looks like that word in English. Un pot de. Okay? On continue avec la confiture. Révision de français 2. This was a review of French 2. La confiture. Back in French 2, when we did our food unit, we talked about breakfast foods and things that you might find in a typical French breakfast. And la confiture was one of our words for jam. La confiture, jam. La confiture. All right, I'll say the word, then you say it, and then we're going to move on to our next one. La confiture. Excellente. Excellente. OK, prochain mot de vocabulaire, c'est un litre de. Un litre de. A liter of. Facile, because it also kind of looks like that word in English. Un litre de. A liter of. So you could say un litre de lait, a liter of milk. Un litre de l'eau, a liter of water, etc. Litre. That word is kind of hard to say. When you say it slow and you slow it down, it sounds like litre with that r on the end. But when you say it fast, it's litre. So that r sound, litre, becomes like a sound almost. So on litre, de, and then your word. So practice that for me real quick. I'm going to say it how you would normally say it, and then I want you guys to try and repeat it as best as you can. Okay, on y va. Un litre de. Très bien. Don't worry too if you can't get that r sound right now. It comes with a lot of practice. So trying it and saying it over and over again gets you that r sound that makes you sound super French. Okay. Aussi en révision, also a review, le jus d'orange. Le jus d'orange. So it's a little bit of two words review. So we've got orange, which is our orange, and jus, which is juice. So we learned le jus d'orange back in French too. And then we also learned le jus de pomme. We also learned apple juice. So le jus d'orange, orange juice, facile. It also looks like words in English. And le jus de pomme, which is apple juice. Okay? On y va. On continue. So a lot of these words are a little bit of review too, which should help with like remembering them. Okay? Prochain mot de vocabulaire, un sac en plastique. Sac en plastique. If that picture was not up there, think about it. Do you think that you would be able to figure out what that word was saying in English if the picture was not there? I feel like you could, right? Because sac looks like sack, and then plastique looks like plastic. So a plastic sack, we can guess that it means like a plastic bag. So un sac en plastique is a plastic bag. Un sac en plastique, a plastic bag. Okay. Prochain mot, le chariot. Le chariot. Très important. Very important. Quand vous faites les courses, when you go grocery shopping, c'est très important. Le chariot is your cart. Le chariot, your cart. Le chariot. Okay, I'll say the word, you say it, and then we're going to move on to our next ones. Trying to keep the videos a little bit shorter, but we have a lot of words to cover today. Okay, I say it and then you say it. Le chariot. Excellent. Okay, identifier. So I'm going to put all of our pictures up here for you. So all of our pictures are up there, and then I want you to circle the word that I say. So you're circling the picture of the word that I say in French. Okay? On y va. Le chariot. Le chariot. All right, we should have circled our cart. We should have circled the cart. Excellent. So le chariot was our word that we should have circled. Excellent. Okay, on continue avec des phrases. So now we're talking about some phrases. When you go to a grocery store, what somebody might say to you while you are there, asking you, qu'est-ce qu'il vous faut? What do you need? Or asking you how you would like something. So notre première phrase, our first phrase is qu'est-ce qu'il vous faut? Qu'est-ce qu'il vous faut? You've learned this a different way too. You said or you've learned qu'est-ce que vous avez besoin? What do you need? Qu'est-ce que vous avez besoin? But qu'est-ce qu'il vous faut is just another way to say what do you need? Qu'est-ce qu'il vous faut? Okay, so I'm going to say the word and then I want you to say it and we'll talk about our next phrase. Okay, on y va. Qu'est-ce qu'il vous faut? Excellent, excellent. Qu'est-ce qu'il vous faut? Okay, we're going to do a couple of phrases and then we'll do a little review too. We've already learned how to say I need. You've learned it a different way, but now I'm going to teach it to you one more way based off of that question that we just learned. Qu'est-ce qu'il vous faut? So we've already learned I need as j'ai besoin. J'ai besoin as I need. But now we can also say il me faut. So when somebody says qu'est-ce qu'il vous faut? What do you need? You could say il me faut or j'ai besoin. Either one works to say I need. Il me faut is just a little bit more formal, I feel like. But either one is perfectly acceptable when you're talking to someone. Okay, so I'll say it and then you say it. We're just going to say our new word, which is that il me faut. Okay, here we go. I'll say it and then you say it. Il me faut. Excellent. Il me faut. I need. So you could say il me faut une pomme. I need an apple. Il me faut l'oignon. I need an onion, etc. How many or how much do you need? So we already know that combien means how much or how many. So that's our beginning part. And then that vous en faut-il. That vous en faut-il is our do you need. And remember, we just learned pronouns, so that en means of them. So really, this sentence is saying, how many of them do you need? So if I say, il me faut des pommes, somebody could say back to me, combien vous en faut-il? How many of them, the apples, do you need? Combien vous en faut-il? Remember, whenever we have an S and then a vowel after it, there's usually a liaison, a link between the two letters. So instead of combien vous en faut-il and sounding pretty chappy, we link that vous and that en with a Z sound. So vous en faut-il, vous en faut-il. Okay? I'm going to say that whole phrase and then you say it back and we'll talk about our next one. Okay? On y va. Combien vous en faut-il? Excellent. Très bien. Okay? About. À peu près. About. So if somebody asks you, combien vous en faut-il? How many of them do you need? You could say à peu près une douzaine, around or about a dozen. À peu près une douzaine, about or around a dozen. À peu près. À peu près means about. À peu près. Okay, I'll say it and you say it, focusing on that last word, près. Près. That means near too. If you see that in another unit or another chapter, that près means near. So you could say près de la Tour Eiffel, near the Eiffel Tower. Okay, so I'll say it, you say it, focus your pronunciation on that last word. On y va. Here we go. À peu près. Excellent. Okay, now we're going to do a little bit of review. So translate those words on the left in French to those words on the right in English. So you need to translate all of those words into French using the word bank that's on the left. You can pause the video if you need a little bit more time too. Okay, our next one is 1 pound. 1 pound. Un livre is 1 pound. Un livre. Attention, careful though, because we've learned un livre, which is a book. Un livre. But un livre is a pound. Un livre, un livre. So remember that un versus that une. So un livre is a book. Un livre is a pound. When it's feminine, it means a pound. Un livre. Facile. So I don't think we need to say that one out loud. Okay, our next word is approximately. Approximately. So we're learning a bunch of really kind of interesting words today, but helpful for when you go to a store and you need help with getting something. So approximately is environ. Environ. It can also mean around, like I need around 10 apples. So environ, approximately or around. So approximately, environ. I'll say the word and then you say the word and we'll talk about our next one. Environ. Excellent. So you could say il y a environ 10 élèves. There are approximately 10 students. Il y a environ. There are approximately. Il y a environ. Okay? Prochain mot de vocabulaire. How do you want? How do you want? Say voulez, comment. Voulez, comment. So this is how do you want them? You would say voulez, comment les pommes. Voulez, comment les pommes. How would you want the apples, par exemple? That voulez is sort of like a tongue twister. So try and practice saying that. Voulez, because it has sort of the same sound, that voulez. So it's got like a double vous sound and a double lay sound at the beginning, sort of like a palindrome almost, same forward and same backwards. Okay, so I'll say it and then you say it. voulez, comment. Excellent. I dare you to say that 3 times fast. OK? On continue avec notre prochaine révision, so our next review. So I want you to match the French to the English that I have up here. So there's a French word and an English word to match its counterpart. So I want you to draw some lines or write it down somewhere if you're not following along online to match the French to the English. OK? On y va. I'll give you a couple of seconds. If you need a little bit more time, you can pause the video. Okay, so we should have matched à peu près with about. Un livre goes with a pound or 1 pound. And qu'est-ce qu'il vous faut is our what do you need. So à peu près, about, 1 pound, un livre. What do you need? Qu'est-ce qu'il vous faut? Okay. Prochaine, c'est very ripe. So there's 2 words here. We've already learned very is très or bien. And then mieux or mieux with that S at the end is our ripe. So if you just wanted to say ripe, you could say mieux. If you want to say very ripe, you'd say bien mieux. So I could say l'abricot est bien mieux. The apricot is very ripe. Okay, mieux. Okay, I say it and then you say it. Mieux. Très bien. On continue avec c'est and then whatever your amount is, le kilo. So if I'm asking, ça coûte combien les pommes? You could say, or someone could say at the store, c'est €1 per le kilo. C'est €1 le kilo. It's €1 per kilo. Sort of like when you go to Meijer and you're weighing like a fruit or a produce, and it gives you a certain price per pound. So like apples are sold by the pound. But remember, in France, they use the metric system, so it's kilos and not pounds. Okay, so I say it and you say it. We're just going to say that last word, kilo. Très bien. Say, then your number, le kilo, for each kilo. I'll take, we've learned one way to say this already. Now we're going to learn another way. We've already learned I'll take as je vais prendre, which is I'm going to have. I'll take that je vais prendre. But now we're going to just add in our on. So we're going to just add in our pronoun so that je vais en prendre is I will take it, or I'll take some. Je vais en prendre les pommes. I'll take some of the apples. Je vais en prendre. Je vais en prendre. Remember that liaison with that S and that vowel. So instead of je vais en prendre, it's je vais en prendre. Remember to make that Z sound. Okay, I say it, then you say it, and then we're going to move on. Je vais en prendre. Excellent. Vous êtes intelligente. Okay, traduisez, translate, write down on your laptops or write it down on a separate sheet of paper if you're following along that way. Translate this sentence, the apricot is very ripe. Okay, so we should have said l'abricot est bien mûr. L'abricot est bien mûr. Okay, on est presque fini. We're almost done. Will that be all? Will that be all? Ça or ce sera tout. Ce sera tout. You could also say ça sera tout. Would that be all? Ce sera tout. Is that all? Will that be all? That sera part, that middle word, is our future tense that we're going to be learning when we take our verb and we add a certain future ending onto it. We've already learned the near future, but now this is the future, so the big future. Sort of like something that you might do just sometime down in your life or in the next month or the next year. So, ce sera tout. Ce sera tout. Okay, I'll say it and then you say it. Ce sera tout. Excellent. Okay, that's all for today. As much as you probably want the video to end, that's not our last word for today. So our word for that's all for today is c'est tout pour aujourd'hui. You have heard me say this several times before when you watch my videos. I always say at the very end, c'est tout pour aujourd'hui. So you'll hear me say it at the end of this video. That's all for today. C'est tout pour aujourd'hui. And that aujourd'hui is our today. Very long word to say today in French. C'est tout pour aujourd'hui. And you can also break this up and use the c'est tout just to say that's all. C'est tout. You don't have to add in the pour aujourd'hui unless you would like to. C'est tout pour aujourd'hui. Okay? I say it and then you say it. C'est tout pour aujourd'hui. Très bien. Très bien. Identifier. So I've got some pictures or some words up here for you. I want you to identify what is this word. Actually, I'm going to have you draw some lines. So you're going to draw some lines to match the French to the English. I was going to just say it out loud, but I'll have you draw some lines. Match the French to the English that I have up there, okay? Pause the video if you need a little bit more time, if I didn't give you enough time last time, to match the French to the English. Allez-y, here we go. Okay, so we should have matched ripe with mieux, then voulez-vous comment with how do you want, and ce sera-tu with will that be all. So voulez-vous comment with how do you want, ce sera-tu with will that be all, and ripe with mieux. Excellent. Okay, prochaine, our next one, les produits congelés. Les produits congelés. Congelé means frozen. Les produits congelés, frozen products. Frozen products. Les produits congelés, frozen products, or like frozen foods. Okay, les produits congelés. Let's just say that last word. Let's just say that last word. Congelé. Congelé. All right? I'll say it and then you say it. Congelé. Excellent. As a bonus word, I'll tell you what the word is for freezer is congélateur. Congélateur. So freezer is congélateur. Congélateur. Okay? On continue avec well. Allor. Allor also means so. When you're talking in a sentence and you say, I like this, so I do that, then you would use the allor. You could also use donc for that part, but allor means more like well or so. So if you say, j'aime les abricots, alors j'achète beaucoup. I like apricots, so or well, I buy a lot. Okay, so you can use so or well for allor in French. But it's a super important word. It's a word that's used very often in French. Allor. Make sure you get that sound at the very end. Okay, I see it and then you practice it and make sure you try to get that sound towards the very end. Okay, here we go. Alors. Très bien. All right. See, keep working on that accent and it gets better. Right next to. So now we're into talking about our directions of where you might find some things. So our next word is right next to. Tout près. Tout près. Right next to. Tout près. Tout près. All right. I say it, you say it, and then we're going to move on to our next word. Tout près. Excellent. Tout près, right next to. So we've learned allor so far with our directions, and then tout près, right next to. Where could I find? Where could I find? All right. Our where could I? Okay. Our where could I find is. Let's see if I can get the word to show up. There we go. Où est-ce que je pourrais trouver? Where could I find? Où est-ce que je pourrais trouver? Where is it that I could find? Où est-ce que je pourrais trouver? That last couple of words, that je pourrais trouver, is probably our hardest part because we already know où and est-ce que and je. Those are all words that we have seen before, used several times. So I just want to focus on saying those last three words, that whole last phrase, could I find? Okay, I say it and then you say it. Je pourrais trouver. Excellent. That means could I find? Où est-ce que je pourrais trouver? Where could I find? Par exemple, for example, où est-ce que je pourrais trouver les ananas? Where could I find the pineapples? Où est-ce que je pourrais trouver les crevettes? Where could I find the shrimp? Je pourrais trouver. Where could I find? Où est-ce que je pourrais trouver? OK? On continue avec if you go. If you go. Si vous allez. We should already know how to say that whole entire phrase. Si vous allez. If you go. Si vous allez. If you go. Si tu vas, you can also use if you're talking to somebody that you know. But remember, when you're in a store, you must be formal. So you've got to use that si vous allez. Okay, if you go. So when you're in a store, a salesperson would say back to you in the formal too, si vous allez. Okay? On continue avec at the end of. So this is like if they're saying at the end of the aisle or at the end of the hallway, au bout de. Au bout de. So somebody, like a teacher might say to you, au bout du couloir, at the end of the hallway. But you would use au bout de when you're talking like in a store, somebody's describing where you might find something. Au bout de. Okay? I say it and then it's your turn to say it. Au bout de. Excellent. Excellent. Is found where? Is found where? So we use this to say when we're talking about if something is, or asking where something is found. So we could say the apples are found where? Or pasta is found where? So that's what we would use when we're asking about something. So ça se trouve où? We would say les pâtes, ça se trouve où? Where is the pasta found? Or the pasta is found where? Ça se trouve où? We can also put our item at the end. Ça se trouve où? Les pâtes. Where is the pasta found? Or the pasta is found where? Okay, ça se trouve où? I say it and then you say it and we're going to move on and we are almost done with our video for today. Ça se trouve où? Now your turn. Excellent. Excellent. In the middle of. In the middle of. C'est au milieu de. Au milieu de. That middle word is kind of hard to say. Milieu. Milieu. In the middle of. So you could say au milieu du supermarché, in the middle of the market. Au milieu de les produits congelés, in the middle of the frozen foods. Okay, so I'm going to say that word and then you say it. Au milieu de. Excellent. Okay, identifier. I've got all of those words up there for you. Match your French to the English or match your word to the picture. I'll give you a couple of seconds. Pause the video if you need a little bit more time. I'll give you a couple seconds starting now. All right. So we've got our first one. Where could I find? That is the où est-ce que je pourrais trouver. Tout près is right next to. Produit congelé goes with our frozen food picture. And au bout de goes with at the end of. All right. Keeping on with our slides, we're almost done. Devant is our in front of. Devant, in front of. You might remember we did like a little handshake sort of when we were teaching these. Devant was when we moved our one hand in front of the other one. Devant, and then derrière was behind. So devant, in front of, and then our next one should be behind, derrière. So devant, in front of, derrière, behind. This might be a little bit easy to remember this word because we think of like derrière in English, right? That's where we get our word from is the French derrière, to remind you that it means behind. Not the behind that you might be thinking of, but behind as in behind something. Okay, So between is our in between two things, and that is entre. Entre, between. So you could say il est entre les produits congelés et la fromagerie. So it could be in between the cheese shop and the frozen food products, or something like that. You could say it's in between two different things. Entre, to say in between. Okay, I say it, you say it. Entre. Excellent. Okay, so I want you to drag your dot to indicate where the baguette is in reference to the desk on there. I have a sentence describing where it's at. So it says, la baguette est devant la table. So drag your dot to tell me where that baguette might be. Your dot is in quote unquote this case, the baguette. Okay, so drag your dot to indicate where la baguette might be. All right, we should have dragged our dot to be in front of the table. It is in front of the table. Okay, our next one, next to, à côté de. À côté de, next to. À côté de, next to. À côté de. All right, I say that word, then you say it, and we're getting down to our last couple of words. So I'll say it, you say it, and then we're going to move on and finish today's lesson. À côté de. Excellent. So now we're going to talk about to the right of something. We just said next to. We've learned between, in front of, behind. Now we're going to talk about to the right of and then to the left of. So to the right of something is à droite de. À droite de. That à droite means to the right, and that de means of. À droite de, to the right of. All right? I say it, you say it, and then we're going to talk about the left of something. I say it first, à droite de. Now your turn. Excellent. And our next one is to the left of, à gauche de. À gauche de. À droite de, to the right of. À gauche de, to the left of. À droite de, to the right of. À gauche de, to the left of. All right, can you say that word for me? I've said it a couple of times, so let's see how well we can say it. All right, say what to the left of is in French. Nice job. À gauche de. À gauche de. So now drag your dot to indicate where the baguette might be in reference to the desk. La baguette est à gauche de la table. So drag your dot to tell me where the baguette can be found according to the desk. La baguette est à gauche de la table. Our dot should be on the left of the table. The left of the table. Okay, identifier devant. Tell me which one of those means devant. All of those words are in English. Tell me which one of those is devant. Excellent. We should have picked in front of, that very bottom one, in front of. Okay, et c'est tout pour aujourd'hui. C'est tout pour aujourd'hui. There's a review of one of your vocab words. That's it for our video for today. That is also all of the vocab for this video lessons, for this set of the vocab, for vocab 2. Si vous avez des questions, n'hésitez pas de m'envoyer moi un email. Don't hesitate to send me an email. Vous pouvez aussi utiliser the Pear Deck. You can also use the Pear Deck pour réviser les vocabulaires, pour réviser, to review the vocab. Mais c'est tout pour aujourd'hui et à plus!